Welcome to the Daily Tanya for Shabbos, the 23rd day of Sivan. We continue in chapter 7 in Shar, Hayichud, VA'amuna, the gateway to unity and faith. And indeed in today's class, we do learn about the unity of Hashem and how certain things we can only appreciate through faith. The Alter Rebbe brings the verse that it says, Ani Hashem lo shanisi, Ani Avaya lo shanisi, I, God, have not changed. Now what does that mean? That God doesn't change. You can think that God doesn't change his mind. It's more than that. It's like Hashem essentially does not change. The immutable essence. Nothing that happens that causes any changes in God. So this is something that is difficult to understand because we keep constantly changing, and everything that happens to us changes us. You were alone, you get married. The fact that you get up in the morning, you gain another day, so you changed. Yesterday you had experience of yesterday, now you have experience of today. Everything in life that you know, that you experience, causes changes in you. Now when we're talking about God creating the world, how could you say that this doesn't cause any change? Before the creation of the world, God was alone. And now the world, he created the world, okay? But doesn't the fact that he creates a world causes a change in him, that before he was alone, now he has a world? He has the awareness of a world that didn't happen before. So how could we say that God doesn't change? So the Alter Rebbe says that based on what we explained so far in this chapter, in this part of Tanya, that Hashem's being is an essential being. And we spoke about the creation of the world, how everything is nullified to Hashem. Everything is part of Hashem's existence. So Hashem creating the world, it is basically within himself, causing something within himself. It's not that it's changing for us, because there is the contraction, what Hashem did to allow us to feel ourselves as separate entities. For us, we feel as separate entities, and for us there is change. And we feel ourselves as a separate existence. But within Hashem, it's not something which is outside of him. It's all within Hashem's existence himself. Can we say that we understand it? No, absolutely not. As the Alter Rebbe will tell us, it is something beyond our understanding. We can understand it in a negative way, meaning we understand what it's not. We take it with faith that what we don't understand, that Hashem in essence is beyond every possible of understanding, every possibility of understanding. And all of creation is part of Hashem's existence himself. And that is why it doesn't cause any changes in Hashem. Let's see it in the words of the Alter Rebbe as we continue chapter 7. Says the Alter Rebbe, V'hinei, b'ma she'nizbaer yuvan ma shekosav ani avaya lo shanisi. Now from the foregoing exposition, one will be able to understand the verse, I, Avaya, Hashem, have not changed. Pirush, what does that mean? Not only has there been no change in God's conduct, or even his will, with regard to rewarding the righteous and so on, but this verse means explicitly that there is no change, heaven forfend, in God. There exists nothing that can alter him. The only consideration that might possibly cause one to wonder about there being a change in God's unity is bringing created beings into existence. Before the creation, nothing whatsoever existed other than him. And after the creation, however, one might erroneously conclude that there now exists something in addition to him. The various worlds and their denizens, everything that is in the world, and where this is to be. And were this to be so, this world constitutes a change in God's absolute unity, heaven forbid. The verse therefore anticipates this by saying, I, Havaya, have not changed. Continues the Alter Rebbe and says, She'ein shum shinui klal, k'may she'oye levadei koidem brias elam kachu levadei achar shenivra. There is no change in him at all, just as he was alone before the creation of the world, so is he alone after it was created. Now the Rebbe says that this is what we say by prayer. We say, Zeru she'oimrim atahu ad sheloi nivra olam, atahu chulu. Accordingly, it is written, you were the same before the world was created, and you are the same after the world was created. And these words is using words that seem not necessary, saying you are the one, you are he, until the world was created, and you are he after the world was created. Why do we say the same you are he? And the meaning of this passage, if the meaning of this passage were only to that God is eternal, without beginning or end, it could have been stated simply. You were before the world was created, and so on. Why the circumlocutions, using so many words unnecessarily? You are he who was before the world was created, and so on. So this emphasis provided by the repeated phrase, you are he who, means that you are exactly the same he before and after creation. So in other words, just like the same before creation, Hashem was he all alone, the same thing after creation, Hashem is him all alone. Bli shum shinui b'atzmusoi, without any change in his being, nor v'loi b'daitoi, nor even in his knowledge. So one might have supposed that with the creation of the world, God's knowledge underwent a change, inasmuch as he could not have possibly known the world beforehand. Before created, the world was nothing. Once the world was created, God would thus know something that previously he did not. So the Alter Rebbe therefore tells us that God's knowledge has not changed at all. And why is that? So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain what the Rambam says, that Hashem's knowledge is not like human knowledge. He knows the world by knowing himself. It's not an additional thing that adds to him his knowledge. But by knowing himself, he knows all created beings, since all derive from him and are nullified in relation to him. Kameshikosav Rambam, as the Maimonides writes, שהוא הידע והוא הידוע והוא הדעה עצמה הכל אחד. Maimonides of blessed memory stated that he is the knower, he is the known, and he is the knowledge itself. All are one. And this message from the Maimonides is repeated a few times in the Tanya. Alter Rebbe mentions this, that when we're talking about human being, you have the knowledge and understanding of a human being, there's three things. You have the person who exists before he knows anything, then the person has an intellect, and through the intellect he understands knowledge. By God, all the Hashem and his intellect and the subject is all one, and it's beyond our understanding because this is not how we work. So this is beyond our understanding. This, Maimonides goes on to say, is beyond the capacity of the mouth to express, beyond the capacity of the ear to hear, and beyond the capacity of the heart or mind of man to apprehend clearly. Yeah, we can say it, but just like you say 2 + 2 = 5, you can say it, but does it mean anything? No. So we can say that those words that we said, it's all one, but it's not saying it. You're saying nothing. It's beyond our understanding. The Holy One, blessed be He, His essence and being, and His knowledge are all absolutely one from every side and angle and in every form of unity. His knowledge is not super added to his essence and being as it is in a mortal soul, whose knowledge is added to its essence and is compounded with it. Person is compounded with his knowledge. Shar is a davar kvar oisen bei nafshe maskelas beterem shalomad v'yoda ve'achak shalomad v'yoda nitois v'yediuza benafshe. But when a man studies a subject and knows it, his rational soul was already within him before he studied and knew it. And afterward, this knowledge was added to his soul. And so, day after day, days speak, meaning instruct a person, and a multitude of years teach wisdom. So people change. Every day we change. Another day we get another understanding. This is not a simple, perfect unity, but a composite. So that us, with our knowledge, is a composite. We can exist without the knowledge that we have. But by Hashem, Him and His knowledge are one. They're not like two separate entities, two separate things that composite become one. The Holy One, blessed be He, however, is a perfect unity, without any composition or element of plurality at all, inasmuch as it is impossible to speak of any aspect of Him as not having existed previously. So therefore, since His unity is perfect and uncompounded, one can say that His knowledge is something. One cannot say that His knowledge is something apart from Him. For that would imply, heaven forbid, a composite. That His knowledge is superadded to His essence, effecting a change within Him. Rather, by Hashem, it's not a composite. It's an essential unity, simple unity. One must conclude that His essence and being and knowledge are all absolutely one, without any composition. Therefore, just as it is impossible for any creature in the world to comprehend the essence of the Creator and His being, so it is impossible to comprehend the essence of his knowledge, which is one with God himself. What we can do is only the faith, only believe that this is so. It is possible only to believe with faith that transcends intellect and comprehension. And the Holy One, blessed be He, is one and unique. It is something beyond understanding. You can understand that what it's not is not us, is not like us. It's like you're looking on the horizon. You see the horizon. You're not there. Then you go and you come to the place what you saw. And when you come to the place what you saw, you're still not in the horizon. You see, you're in another place. You're still not in the horizon. The horizon is still far from you. Far from you. So to understand God, we can understand what it's not. We can reach and come and reach and understand as more and more, but ultimately we didn't get there. And we'll never get there. We can understand it with faith, that this is, Hashem is different. He and his knowledge are all absolutely one, and knowing himself, he perceives and knows all higher and lower beings, meaning the beings in the higher and the lower worlds. Including even the small worm in the sea, which is the smallest creature, and the minute mosquito that may be found in the center of the earth, which is the most insignificant creature. And all of this, there is nothing concealed from him. And Hashem is there. And this knowledge does not add multiplicity and composition to him at all. Why not? And this is being since that it is merely a knowledge of himself. And his being and his knowledge are all one. So thus, by knowing himself, he knows all created beings that derive their existence from him, and that are utterly nullified to him and unified with him. Now the Alter Rebbe brings a few verses that explain that we don't understand God's way of thinking. Al ken omar anovi ki govu shamayim ve'oretz ken govu drochayim midarkichem u'machshavosayim u'machshavosichem. And as much as this form of knowledge is very difficult to envisage, the prophet Isaiah therefore said, "For as the heavens are higher than earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." It is likewise written, "Can you, by intellectual searching, find God?" And so too, the other verse says, "Have you eyes of flesh, and do you see as man sees?" So it's not. So we cannot search God, and God is not like us. For man sees and knows everything with a knowledge that is external to himself, and hence something is added to him by his knowledge. Whereas the Holy One, blessed be He, knows all by knowing himself. These are the paraphrased words of the Maimonides. Ein Sham Hilchos Yesod HaTorah. See there in the Hilchos Yesod HaTorah, in the Mishnah Torah of the Rambam, V'yiskimu imoi chachmei HaKabbalah, and the sages of the Kabbalah have agreed with him, as is explained in Padas of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero of blessed memory. So what does it mean that the sages of Kabbalah agreed with the Rambam? Because this statement of the Rambam, the Maimonides, when he said that God, He's the knowledge, He's the knower, and He's the known, there were some sages who challenged this, and they said, how could you ascribe to God any terms of knowledge? He's the knowledge. What does it mean? He's above knowledge. Knowledge is something which is a definition of something which is not God. God is above knowledge. He's indivisible. He cannot be described in any way. How could you say Hashem He's the knowledge? So the Alter Rebbe discussed this earlier in the Tanya, and he said that they're both right. That those sages who challenge talk about God in the higher levels, the fourth contraction. But when you say that Hashem, what the Maimonides says, that Hashem is the knowledge, he's talking about after the tzimtzum, after the contraction. Hashem contracted, then the concept of knowledge also came into being by Hashem. So all of this, again, gives us a little tiny bit of understanding of the greatness of Hashem. Makes us humble, makes us appreciate who we are and the gratitude that we have for Hashem for being. Hashem is here, and Hashem makes us being. And therefore, being nullified to Hashem, and that Hashem constantly creates us every single second, then the day will be another day. Wishing you a wonderful day, Mr. Hashem. I'll see you with a lesson for Sunday soon.